We're joined now by the Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Michael Creed. Minister, thanks for joining us this evening.
You're welcome, Claire.
Given the short time that's left, Minister, and the chaos that still exists in Westminster, is there going to be a crash-out Brexit?
In all honesty, I can't say that for definite what the outcome will be. I mean, we have invested an enormous amount of time and resources working through a situation where we negotiated a withdrawal agreement with the UK government. That's our preferred option. The UK government hasn't managed to convince its own parliament to approve that. But that withdrawal agreement, if approved, enables us to get to a situation where we're in a transition period. Within that transition period, we're negotiating a comprehensive free trade agreement with the United Kingdom. That's what we want. We have no interest in trapping the UK in a permanent backstop arrangement, which has been spun in Westminster by some. We want a comprehensive free trade agreement, bearing in mind it won't be as good as what we currently have, which is, a single market and a single customs union and free movement of goods and services. But the most comprehensive free trade agreement possible is what our ambition is. It's obviously still a distinct possibility now that the UK could crash out, and in terms of the impact of that on the agri-food sector is very, very significant. I've always said there's no upside, but certainly in the context of a crash-out Brexit, where our access to the UK market is significantly threatened, that has really very difficult implications for Irish agriculture, the Irish fishing industry, in all its manifestations, both for farmers, for those working in the agri-food sector, for our export earnings, and for the well-being of the rural economy in particular.
Minister, I suppose what the government wants is one thing, then with the no deal Brexit, with the deal that's on the table, but no deal is looking increasingly likely, and farmers need to know, they need certainty for their futures on what package is available in the case of a no deal. What are the details on that package?
I understand that, Claire, and the government understands that, and the Commission understands also, because we've been working very closely with them, what farmers want, and farmers want certainty. Regrettably, I can't bring certainty to a situation until we know what happens with the UK government. Either they crash out or approve the withdrawal agreement. What we have been doing over since the 23rd of June 2016 is creating the awareness of what the Irish agriculture's exposure is to the UK market, working with other member states, working with the Commission, and indeed I as Minister for Agriculture working across government here as well. And there is a clear understanding now, as evidenced by the Commission's own documents published for Brexit contingency, that we are the most exposed sector. But what we don't know yet, Claire, and I can understand the frustration at farmer level, at farm organisation level, and indeed at the agri-processing sector. What we don't know yet is what will be the impact of a no-deal Brexit. We've seen recently the UK publish a tariff schedule. What we don't know is when that tariff schedule is implemented, what will be the impact here on the price that processors will pay to beef producers, to dairy producers, to pig processors? What will be the implications at a farm gate level? Now, we have modelled a whole lot of scenarios. We obviously have a good idea of where the impacts will be in the beef sector, the immediate hit will be for finishers, what will be the consequences for people who are going out and buying weanlings at the moment, all of that kind of stuff. We have an idea of that, but we don't exactly know, what the landing spot will be in terms of what the price will be paid. But I am satisfied, absolutely, that the Commission knows that there is a big price tag following a crash-out Brexit, and so does the government. And the response will be a collaboration between both to make sure that the supports are provided to the industry.
But Minister, do you know what is in the potential no-deal package for agriculture? Can you say with confidence that it is a good package that's there, and how soon could it be delivered in a no-deal scenario?
There is no such thing, Claire, as a good package in the context of Brexit. Brexit is a damage limitation exercise. Whatever the future holds for us is not as good as what we have. And no matter what contingencies the government has, the contingencies of themselves will not make up for the downsides of Brexit. We are in a damage limitation exercise in that context. And I am satisfied that in terms of the beef sector, which is particularly exposed, almost 300,000 tonnes of our beef, half of it going into the UK market. I'm very satisfied that in terms of the analysis, that we would know the way to deliver supports quickly and directly to the sector. But we don't know at this stage what the immediate impact will be. Will the price fall by 5 cents a kilo? Will it fall by 50 cents a kilo? In terms of the tariffs that will be put on, how much of that will be absorbed by the UK retailer, by the UK consumer? How much of it will be pushed back down the line to Irish processors and to Irish primary producers? They're the issues that we don't have certainty as to how the consequences of a Brexit crash out will land. And that applies across all the sectors, whether it is poultry or pig or dairy. But
is there a figure? Is there a figure on the package? Have you seen the figure?
But you see, Claire, the point I'm making is it's impossible to quantify the package in that sense that's required until you know. But I am very satisfied that the Commission knows what our ask is. Our ask is to protect the Irish agri-food industry, to protect the beef industry, to enable us in the context of that response, particularly if we talk about beef, for example, to enable us to keep our product on the supermarket shelf in the UK, which we have won that space over many decades, and to support the primary producer for whatever drop in prices are there as a consequence of that crash out Brexit. So the Commission has said it stands ready to support us in that context, because no matter what happens in the immediate aftermath of a crash out, we will get to a situation where we are talking about a comprehensive free trade agreement. I would prefer we do it in an orderly fashion, withdrawal, transition, future trading relationship. But there is a distinct possibility of crash out, and I am satisfied that we will have all of the financial resources that are necessary, and we will use that in the most appropriate way to deliver quickly to farmers.
How soon, when you say quickly, how soon would the state aid be delivered?
As soon as we know what the implications are for all the individual sectors, how the tariffs are impacting on primary producers, what element of the new world will be absorbed by UK retailers, by UK consumers. And obviously we hope to push as much of it to that end of the supply chain. But there's undoubtedly the case that there will be significant consequences for our primary producers as well, for our beef farmers in particular, because we have so much of our market in the UK. So that would mean, where do we intervene in terms of supporting those? The immediate people who take the hit will be finishers. So that's an obvious, I would say, no-brainer. And how to support those who are going out buying weanings for future supply into the UK market, because that's the imperative. The imperative is that we keep our product in front of the UK consumer. We don't lose that market to cheaper imports coming in from third countries. That we keep our product in front of the UK consumer who has become accustomed to that quality product, and that we do that until such time as we negotiate a comprehensive free trade agreement.
Minister, the government has been adamant that there will be no hard border in Ireland. Yet the EU Commission came out yesterday, officials came out yesterday and indicated that in the case of a no-deal scenario, technology could be used as a potential invisible border. Where would the checks be in that scenario?
Claire, there's an ongoing debate in the UK, and it is predicated on the agreement and a central part of that, which is the backstop, which is all about avoiding a hard border. And I'm conscious that every utterance that we say is not in a vacuum. This debate is being considered in the UK in the context of the withdrawal agreement, or variations of that they would like to see. We have a situation that avoids a hard border, that for Northern Ireland provides in many ways the best of both possible worlds, that gives them access to the EU market and makes no differentiation between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK. That's the withdrawal agreement. I am also acutely conscious that if they were to crash out, we will have issues to be determined then around our commitment to preserving the integrity of the single market. And that's really important for us, because to lose one market in the UK would be unfortunate. To lose a second market would be downright disastrous. So maintaining the integrity of that market and our continued access to mainland Europe, which is, after the UK, is the second biggest market for our agri-food offering, will be really important. Because if there is a perception that we have become a backdoor access to the EU market for UK product, or indeed other product coming into the UK that might seek to access the European Union via the Republic of Ireland, then very quickly our product gets snarled up in French ports, French farmers, French fishermen saying, is this really Irish product? Is it a backdoor? So we are acutely aware of our responsibilities in protecting the integrity of the single market. And very quickly, if there was a crash out, here's what I envisage. We have obligations under the Good Friday Agreement. So has the United Kingdom government. We have obligations under the single market. The Commission knows that, and the United Kingdom knows that. But they're all predicated on an ambition to avoiding a hard border. There are no easy ways to fix this, but there would be negotiations which would be tripartite in nature between the UK government, ourselves as co-guarantors of the Good Friday Agreement, and indeed the European Union, with the overriding ambition of being supportive of the Good Friday Agreement but trying to avoid a hard border. All of those three of us would have to sit down and make sure that we came up with a solution that was acceptable to the workings of the single market and also the Good Friday Agreement. Not an easy space to be in if you're looking for an alternative solution to what's on the table now, which resolves that issue in terms of the withdrawal agreement and the backstop provision.
Minister, we're 3 years into the Brexit preparation process, and we have seen the meat industry talk a lot about finding alternative markets to the UK, but at this stage we haven't really secured any alternative markets apart from the UK. Are you disappointed with the level of effort or progression there on the behalf of the meat industry to find and secure alternative markets for Irish beef?
Well, the point that's worth making is what is the function of the department and the minister in terms of new markets, and what is business about then in terms of availing or accessing those markets. It is the case that the best paying market for beef globally is the United Kingdom market. And it would be foolish of me to kind of tell the processing sector that they should abandon that market and go and chase other market opportunities which might exist. Because there are consequences if that's the best paying market. Even with all the uncertainty around Brexit, there would be consequences in terms of the price they could afford to pay if other markets are less rewarding in terms of the profits that they can generate, because the profits they generate are reflected back on the price they can pay. So we open markets, and last year we had the Chinese market opened. I think that's a market that will grow significantly in volume. We are constantly looking for new markets in terms of, following on the coattails of trade agreements that the European Union does, EU Mexico, EU Canada, EU Japan, and trade missions that have followed all of those initiatives. But industry will look at the suite of options that are available to them. Ones that we as a department, working with Market Access Unit here in the Department of Agriculture, working with Bord Bia, but informed by what the industry itself sees as kind of market opportunities that they would like us to pursue. And we do that. And we negotiate with the competent authorities in those member states, in the European Union or outside, the best possible access for our products. So, the issues that arise is, will they take beef over 30 months? What are the regulations that they will insist upon? And we negotiate the best possible terms and conditions for access to that. And once it's open, then it's the business of the industry to decide where they sell the beef and try and maximise the profits. That's what business does.
Minister, what kind of talks are you having with the meat industry at the moment in terms of price? Because you know how volatile the situation is at the moment. You know the morale of a lot of beef farmers out there is on the floor. Are you talking to the meat industry about maintaining price, increasing price in light of what they're facing?
Well, at every available opportunity, Claire, I engage with the industry and I remind them that this relationship is two-dimensional. You cannot have a beef industry, a global player as the Irish industry is. We are the biggest exporter of beef the biggest net exporter of beef in the Northern Hemisphere. You cannot have that if you do not have a healthy primary production sector, if you do not have farmers that are successful in making profits. And I do accept that at the moment it's a very, very challenged area. And I've repeatedly said to the industry, even in the context of very difficult market conditions that are there at the moment, that they must be conscious all the time that there is a real danger that you'll reach a tipping point in terms of the industry, and people will say...
How close are we to that tipping point?
Well, it's a challenge. I mean, there's no point in saying otherwise. The last 6 months have been extremely challenging. If we could get the uncertainty around Brexit out of the way, I'm sure we could look at a new horizon for the industry. But this has become all consuming now. And I do appreciate the challenge for the industry as well. It is in a way the perfect storm, because apart from Brexit, we've had the overhang on the beef market from the difficult year weather-wise that was there last year. You had a drought from the Azores to the Antarctic almost, or to the Arctic, and as a consequence of that, you had an increased kill all across Europe, and a lot of that is still overhanging the market. And we've seen, for example, if you take in the dairy side, you've seen what a drag, an overhang of product can be on the dairy market with the skim milk powder issue. Fortunately, we've cleared all of that now. In the dairy side, and there is an overhang of product on the beef market, which is a problem. But I would like to see if there was more certainty around Brexit, and hopefully we can get that in the coming weeks, that we could see perhaps greater opportunity for the beef sector. Obviously, we continue to work on market access issues and live exports and all of that.
We're under time pressure at the moment. But Minister, just finally, there's been a lot of concern out there about the grid system and about the QPS. Does the grid system need to be reviewed in your view, or is it working?
Well, the grid, the EU ROP grid system is a system that's common to member states. Okay, within the grid system, which determines payment, I think there's almost 225 different landing spots for carcasses. There's a base price, and depending where you land in on the grid, there's a plus or a minus of 6 cents per kilo, depending on your landing spot. That paying arrangement on the basis of the grid classification is an issue entirely negotiated between the farm organisations and the processors. And we have said, in the context of that, if it is the view of the industry and farmers that needs to be revisited, and I'm conscious that it was negotiated some years ago now, that's something that we will facilitate. It's not our grid in terms of the payment system around it. It's not our grid. But if the industry wants, we're quite willing to work with the industry. Last time around, we provided an expert from Teagasc in that space, and if that was wanted again, we would do it. But it's not our paying system. The overall grid system, E's and P's and U's and grade cattle, that is, and we have a responsibility for monitoring the machines and their grading efficiency, and we do that in compliance with EU regulations all the time.
We'll leave it there. Minister, thanks very much for joining us.